Welcome to this edition of Believers Talk with Joe and Steve. We are your hosts. I'm Joe.
I'm Steve.
And we are going to talk to you today about something we talked about in the previous video.
Yep.
Everyone talks about how with the Jets moving up to 3, what does that mean for our Bills, right?
Yeah.
We're all worried about that. What does that mean for Buffalo? What do we think is going to happen? So we'll talk about that a little bit. Before we do that, let's talk about what we have.
Yeah.
The Bills, okay? So Steve's going to break down our 2017 draft picks real quick for us.
The 2018
Or, I'm sorry, 2018, yeah.
is we have 2 first rounders.
Mhm.
One's a 12th overall pick, and that was from Cincinnati. We traded Cordy Glenn,
Right.
swapped the 21st to the 12th pick.
Mhm.
We have the 22nd pick, which we got from Kansas City last year
Right.
when they traded up to get Patrick Mahomes. We traded back and got
Mhm.
Tre'Davious White. We have 2 second rounders, the 53rd pick, which is ours,
Mhm.
and then we got the 56th pick, which we got from the LA Rams
Right.
for the Sammy Watkins trade, along with EJ Gaines.
Right.
We have 2 third rounders, the 65th pick, which is the first pick in that round,
Mhm.
and that's from the Tyrod trade a week or 2 ago.
Yeah.
And then we got the 96th pick, which is the last pick in the third round from the
Mhm.
Eagles for the Darby trade. And
Right.
then we got Jordan Matthews
Right.
obviously with that too, but
Mhm.
those are the picks. We have a 4th rounder, that's 121 overall.
That's
that's
our
our
pick, right?
Yep.
Mhm.
We got a 5th rounder, 166 overall.
Mhm.
And then we have a 6th round, it's 187 overall. That's a Cordy Glenn trade. We took one of our 5ths, traded back, and got
right.
got a 6th with it
Right.
to trade up to the 12th overall pick. So if you're wondering, oh, we had 2 5ths, why would you trade back? But
Yeah.
that was part of it.
That was part of it. And we do not, I'm sorry, did you?
I was just going to go into the 2019, but you can.
But yeah, we don't have a 7th round pick this year,
Yeah, we
right?
traded that away.
Trade that away. And then we didn't get any compensatory picks, which we talked about in the previous episode as well. But yeah, so that's 2018. Steve can talk to you a little about 2019. Looks a little more like a regular draft board, right?
It's pretty vanilla. I mean, we have first, second, third round pick. They're
Mhm.
all these orders are. For
Right.
2019 is off until after
we
the season.
Right, exactly.
We do have 2 fourth round picks. One we acquired from Kansas City when we traded Reggie Ragland this past off season.
Okay.
So whatever pick that'll be for them.
Mhm.
We do have a 5th and a 6th rounder, and then we have 3 7th rounders.
Okay.
We have our original one. We traded Cordell Jones to the Chargers, so we'll get a 7th rounder for that.
Mhm.
And then we traded Kevon Seymour, our cornerback, to Carolina, so we'll get a 7th rounder for that.
Right.
So that's all the draft capital we have in the next 2 years
Mhm.
that's available to us to trade along with any player on our roster.
Right. Right. Yeah. So you talk about player possibly being involved in trade, kind of like Corey Glenn was with Cincinnati. And we were talking a little bit off camera that we don't think we'll have many, if any, compensatory picks next year either.
Yeah, the way the signings are breaking down and the money, we're spending more money than what players we have had signed away.
Right.
Now, if EJ Gaines get a massive deal
Mhm.
or Jordan Matthews, then that would change a little bit, but it would look maybe we would break even. We probably wouldn't get a compensatory pick, so we can't count on any of that right now.
No, not at all. And if you're sitting there saying, well, how do you calculate compensatory picks? We don't really know the formula either, but there is a formula for it.
Yeah, it's basically the free agents you lose, how many you resign,
right?
What the total cap number is, like, or the total salaries for the players that you lost,
Mm-hmm.
and for the players that you gain, whether it be regular just free agents or street free agents, and then the playing time. So there's a bunch of different scenarios. Like, it's like 3 or 4 things that get mixed in, and they figure it out some way, and there you go. But the easiest way to kind of think about it is how many guys you lost, how many you signed, and then you gotta see the salaries. So if we lose 10 guys, and they sign $100 million worth in salaries, and we sign 7 guys, and they only get 60 million, then we'll get compensatory picks
to make up for that 40 million.
Yeah, but as it looks now, everything's going to break even, or we're actually going to be above the guys that we lost.
Right. So and that's okay. That's okay. We need to fill those holes, right?
Yeah,
so that's what we're doing.
I would never not sign a player to just get a compensatory pick.
Right.
I don't believe in that. If you want somebody, you go sign them. Don't worry about the compensatory picks. You do have your picks every year. The only thing nice about mandatory picks now is you can trade them. Before you used to have them.
Right.
So now they're a little more valuable because you can trade them, but
sure.
it's not one of those things where, oh my God, we can't sign this player because we want this pick. No,
right. We'll
you want the pick. You want the player, get the player.
That's
they
right.
fit you, go with it.
Which kind of fits in nicely to what we're going to talk about. So if you want the player, go get the player.
Yeah.
So Steve, we're talking about possibly moving up to the number 2 overall spot, right? That's what we'd have to do to get the Bills guy. We'd have to move past the Jets. There's obviously, we don't see Cleveland going out of that 1 spot, right?
No.
I don't think either of us see that. And to me, and you might disagree, but to me, the amount of picks the Bills would have to give up to move to 1 would just be so much more ridiculous than 2.
Yeah, I mean, Cleveland would just ask an arm and a leg.
Right.
And they can do that. If you look at the value chart, you wouldn't really have to give up as much.
Right.
But you're at least giving up your 2 first-rounders this year, a first-rounder next year, probably your 2 twos.
Yeah.
Like, you're going to give up an arm and a leg.
Right.
But if you want it,
yeah,
get
exactly.
it. But you also have to have a willing trade partner.
Yes.
Cleveland would have to trade out of that position.
Exactly.
So
exactly. Yeah. Cleveland would want to get out of that position before they're going to trade it away. And we just don't see Cleveland in that state of mind. I mean, Cleveland has made some mistakes before in the draft, so who knows?
They're just like us.
Right.
They need their franchise quarterback.
Exactly. So now moving to number 2, it's the Giants. So do we see them as a potential trade partner? I do, but I'm sure.
I believe so too.
Yeah.
The Giants to me are kind of tricky.
Yeah.
Because
absolutely.
I think with Eli Manning getting up there in age, maybe he has a year or 2 left. And if I'm the GM of the Giants, Dave Gettleman, I'm drafting a quarterback at number 2. I'm not trading out because I want to sustain my future. I want to make sure that I'm progressively nicely up and I'm not dropping off because, look at us.
Yeah.
We've been sitting here how many years asking for a quarterback and we just can't get them. And then if you're at the number 2 overall pick, you're there for a reason.
Yeah.
And you can let him sit for a year or 2.
Yep.
Go ahead and take a quarterback. That's just my personal opinion what the Giants should do. Whether they do that or not, that's up to them because they might want to win with Eli as fast as they can.
Absolutely. And like you said before, how often are you going to have the number 2 pick overall in the draft? How often are you going to be 1, 2? Hopefully, unless you're Cleveland, not too many times in a row, right? Hopefully that this is not a reoccurring thing if you're a Giants fan. As a Bills fan, it's okay. But
now, getting back to that a little bit now, Jacksonville, the past 5 years have had top 5 picks.
Right.
So they've been able to do that, but they haven't had the first overall pick or the second.
Yeah.
But it's just going to show like that's how Jacksonville became the way they are now because they had top 5 picks the past 5 or 6 years. And, you got to hit on those obviously too if you take them. But
So 2 is an option, but it's not. Maybe. I mean, we don't know. That's
if I'm Buffalo right now, and everybody's going to say, well, the Jets traded up to 3. We need to trade. We need to trade. So the only way I'm Buffalo right now, and I'm trading up, is if I'm getting the number 1 pick or the number 2. Other than that, I'm not trading until the draft.
Right, yeah, absolutely. I'm not trading the draft day.
I just want to put that out there. Like, if Buffalo can trade up to that number 2 spot right now, okay, I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
Because I believe they're going to get their guy because Darnold's going to go
to Cleveland. Yeah.
So that's.
No, I completely agree. If we're not trading up to 2, there's no reason to move up to 4 or anywhere else until draft day. And the good news about draft day is the further down you go, the less you have to give up. Right, less expensive it gets. And so that's where we're at. So I don't know, did you have any thoughts on what you think's going to happen? Do you think the Bills are going to move to number 2 or?
I think that's going to have to come down to the wire. I think it's going to have to come down to the Giants on the clock. Because they really got to think, do they want to have their future waiting for them?
Right.
Or do they want to win right away with Eli and draft Barkley there? I said a little earlier that I believe the Giants should draft a quarterback, whether that be Rosen, Allen, whoever they like. I would love to see the Bills trade up to the number 2 overall. So
that'd be great.
I have that part of me, because I'm a Bills fan, that I want them to trade up to number 2 overall because I'm tired of sitting back and just watching all these quarterbacks go and we just wait till the end and we'll trade back up in the first round and just take a flyer. now. I mean, I would trade up to 2 if the Giants would trade out, I would trade out to 2.
Okay. Yeah, I've been questioning that a lot lately. I don't know if I would, and here's my reasoning. So going back to the draft, there are 4 major quarterbacks that everyone's talking about, right? You talk about Darnold, Rosen, Allen, and Mayfield. Yeah, Mayfield, right? Baker, who is my favorite. But anyway, looking back from 1976 when the draft, or 67 when the merger happened, to today, there's only been 2 drafts in NFL history where more than 2 quarterbacks were taken out of the first 5 picks. Okay. You're talking about 1999 with Tim Couch, McNabb, and Akili Smith. Yeah. So only one that actually panned out, right? McNabb.
And Philly hated them.
Right, exactly. The Philly booed him, yeah. And then 1971, there was Jim Plunkett, Archie Manning, and Dan Pastorini. Archie Manning and Jim Plunkett were both Pro Bowlers. But none of those 6 are Hall of Famers. None of those 6, did Plunkett win a Super Bowl? I forget.
I believe he did.
He did. But none of the 3 in 1989 won a Super Bowl. I mean, so history to me is kind of the side of no more than 2 of these quarterbacks going out of the top 5.
Okay.
Possibly 3. So I'm looking at 1, Cleveland quarterback. 2, I think the Giants. If the Giants are willing to trade partner, then go for it. And in none of these scenarios, I am not going to be upset in any of these scenarios.
Okay.
2, if the Giants are willing to trade up and we get our guy, great. But if the Giants are going to select Barkley or Chubb, then there's no need to move up. 3, the Jets are getting a quarterback. So that's 2 quarterbacks off the board. First of all, one of those 2 quarterbacks could be the guy we're looking at anyway, right? And again, like you've said before, and I don't want this either. I don't want to move up and get the 3rd guy and then him turn out to be the next J.P. Losman. Okay, I just don't want that. And then what we would have to do is we'd also have to give up both of our first rounds this year, probably the first round next year. So we're looking at a terrible quarterback and no draft capital anymore, right? So I'll be looking at 4 is Cleveland. Again, not worried about them getting another quarterback because they got 1, right? 5 is going to be Denver. Denver's a little tricky. Denver might be a trade partner that we can consider as well. And then 6 is the Colts, which I don't think they'll be taking quarterback, right? Andrew Luck. I mean,
I think they'll be looking to trade back.
Yeah. Well, see, I wonder about that too, because when they trade with the Jets, they said they didn't want to be out of the top 10, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know. But for the right price, anyone's willing to move. I think you have to, as a GM, you have to be willing to move. I don't know. Again, I think about the Bills moving up to 2, and that would be great, right? To look and see Josh Rosen on the board or Baker Mayfield or any of them and say, yes, we got our guy. That's a good feeling, right, in draft day. But to move up to like 6 or 7 and get one of them later, because I do think 2 of these quarterbacks, I don't know which 2, but I think 2 of these quarterbacks are going to drop. They're going to fall. Baker with his personality or with his problems off the field, which we both have said we don't think that's going to be an issue in the NFL, but GMs might still be concerned about that. Whether it be Allen because he has great arm strength, but he's not quite NFL ready yet. Something like that. I don't know. But that's kind of my take on the whole situation.
Yeah, I think we really have to worry about the top 5.
Yeah.
Like we named out. The Browns, number 1, they're going quarterback.
Right.
Number 2, Giants, quarterback, question mark, could go. 3, Jets, they're getting quarterback. They traded first rounder and 3 second rounders, 2 this year and 1 next year. They're getting a quarterback. Number 4, Cleveland. I believe that could be a trade. Somebody can trade up to get a quarterback, whether it's Arizona, Buffalo.
Right.
That's another thing. Even maybe Denver. They're at 5. Maybe they trade up one spot to get the quarterback. Once you get to 6 and downward, I don't think we have much to worry about until we get to Arizona at 15.
Right.
So that's after us. They could obviously leap us.
Right.
But if I'm Buffalo, and this is the thing, we speculate that Josh Rosen.
Yeah.
And that's my guy, Josh Rosen. That's who I would take if I had to choose one guy. So let's say he doesn't go 1. I'm trading up. I'm trying my hardest to trade up to number 2.
Yeah,
because I want my guy.
Absolutely.
And I think the Jets could take him at 3. So if he's there at number 2 and I have the chance to trade up, you can look down through the picks. I'm going to give up my 2 first rounds this year. I'm going to give up a second. if I need to give up 2 seconds, I'm giving it up.
Yeah.
If I need to give up a third, I'm giving it up.
Right.
I think that would be plenty to move up to get him.
Yeah.
Now the other thing too is I saw a Twitter poll that says, "Would you trade LeSean McCoy?"
Yeah, that's what I was gonna ask you about.
To get your quarterback. Me, easy answer. Yup.
Yeah.
I love McCoy. He's born and raised here. We're from Lancaster. Well,
yeah.
I'm born in Lancaster, PA. I know you're up in the Niagara area, but we're in Lancaster, PA, and McCoy is born 30 minutes down the road.
Right.
So I got to watch his career the whole time, and I love McCoy. But 2 years of McCoy or a franchise quarterback for 12 to 15 years. It's so easy to me.
Yeah.
And even if McCoy was, a year or two into the league, I would even trade him because to have your franchise quarterback, that is the most valuable asset a team can have in the NFL.
Yeah, I can't argue with that point. Steve and I disagree on this, actually. I would not trade McCoy, and here's my reasoning. It's simply leadership. Okay. McCoy, we just lost Eric Wood, right? So we just talked about how we lost Zay Jones. We'll have to post that. We lost Zay Jones. Like, who is going to be our leader on offense? You're talking about maybe Rich Incognito. Okay. He doesn't exactly show, we talk about like what he did with Martin, I forget his first name, back in Miami.
Jonathan Martin.
Like he doesn't show leadership qualities all the time that you want leading the locker room. But does McCoy necessarily? I don't know. Sometimes McCoy opens his mouth and
that's
it's
something
just
I was going to get into.
Yeah.
He is by default the leader of the offense.
Right.
Well, when you get your bona fide franchise quarterback in there, that alleviates all. If you have a guy that can come in right away, he's going to be your leader. He's going to be your quarterback.
Yes.
And everybody just rallies around him.
Right.
You don't have to worry about that then. Because we're in that situation now where we're saying, McCoy, okay, you're a leader now by default.
He is, and he is our leader by default. But when you bring in a franchise quarterback, I want him to kind of focus on one thing at a time. Like let's get the playbook down. Let's have him come in. Now, again, I will not be upset if we trade McCoy and get Rosen number 12. Like, okay, well that's what we're going to do. But this is obviously just two different perspectives. 35% of our offense last year, if not more. Like he carried our team, and again, like you said, it's by default basically.
Yeah. Well. He is our offense. I'm not taking anything away from him because he is a great player. He is our offense. I like his style. But to me, I would give him up to get my quarterback. The other thing, too, is if we can keep him and get our quarterback, I'd be totally fine with that because then he makes it easier for the quarterback to learn. So I'm not saying, we'll just ship him out. We have people to just plug in. No, we don't have another player like McCoy. He will make it easier on the quarterback coming in and learning, but if that's the piece that we have to give up to get our quarterback,
I get that.
Move on, and especially if you can keep a second rounder or something this year, we can get. This is a very heavy running back draft, so we can get a nice running back to replace him, and it won't be like McCoy, but
and that's the point I was gonna also agree with you on. If we give away McCoy, that's picks we get to keep as well. So we're getting younger again too, so that's kind of a benefit.
The other thing too is like when you're looking at teams, I believe the Giants, they only have like $6 million in cap space.
Right.
So for them to take on a $9 million contract from McCoy, it most likely isn't happening.
Right.
But we'll just say I'm for trading whatever we have to. You can, if I was a GM and you called me and I'd tell you, okay, look at my picks and tell me kind of what you're looking at. I'll trade my 2 firsts, a second, and maybe a third. And if they say, well, we want this so-and-so player, okay. Like you'd have to go back and forth.
Right, obviously.
Basically, if I was Bean and you're looking at my roster, you can pick anybody on my roster and I would trade them to get a quarterback.
Yeah, I think I was looking at a roster and the 2 players that I would be most willing to say are trade potential players would be McCoy. Not saying I agree with it, but McCoy is definitely an option, and Jerry Hughes.
Okay.
But both are higher up on our salary cap scale. Yeah. So with a team like the Giants with the salary cap issues, I don't think they would take either one at this point. But what would you think about trading next year's first round draft pick if that's what it took?
Well, it depends on what other picks you would have to give up.
Okay.
Like, if I'm trading next year's first rounder, I'd like to keep the 22nd overall pick.
Okay.
Would like to keep my second rounders, and so basically throw in like the 65th overall pick for the third round. That'd be the first pick in the third round. So I'd probably do your 12, you do your first next year, and a third rounder this year. Sure. I think that would be fair, depending on how far you got to move up. I'm not really one of those guys who likes just mortgaging the future.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
But this quarterback draft class is really good. If you do want to sit back and just take a guy, that's fine. But if you are absolutely in love, and that's one thing we can't tell you.
Yeah.
Like,
no. We have
the
no
Bills,
idea.
they might be absolutely in love with just one guy, whether it's one of the top 4 or whatever or not.
Yeah.
But we can't tell you that. So I always speculate and say Rosen because I like Rosen.
Yeah.
So
yeah, and you know what the Jets have told us is they like at least 3 of them.
Yeah.
Right, because it could go quarterback 1, quarterback 2. While you're sitting at 3.
Yeah, they're fine with taking any of them.
Exactly.
And maybe the Bills have them graded that way, and if that's the case, then I'm sitting at 12. I'm not trading up.
Right, exactly.
Because you're going to have a better team sitting at 12 and taking one of the 3 or 4 that fall to you that you like.
Yeah, and even like, because again, I was thinking about this. Even if they fall to, let's say, 7 or 8 with Tampa Bay and Chicago, if you do have to trade up 7 or 8, you're definitely not giving up nearly as much as you would have to move up to 2 or 4.
You're not even giving up your 2 first round.
Right, exactly.
You might give up a second rounder.
Exactly.
You give up the 12th and probably the 53rd, and you'll be fine.
Yeah.
See, so I'm very skeptical of them trading up. Like, I want to see them get the quarterback.
Right.
Because that's what we need.
Absolutely.
And I don't want to pin the 17-year-old drought on not having a franchise quarterback.
Right.
Because a lot of that, yes, we didn't have a quarterback, but obviously we didn't draft good.
Right.
We had some very bad picks.
Right. We can go through a lot of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
absolutely.
Let's just put a hold on that and just think about that a little bit. That if we have all these picks and we hit on them, even with a mediocre quarterback, we're going to be better.
Exactly.
But if we have the chance to get one, this is the year to do it because the quarterback draft is good. We have the ammunition. If we go into next year and still need a quarterback, and let's say we're drafting 20th overall or somewhere around there.
Right. What are we going to do?
We're going to have to mortgage more of the future to get them. Here we have all these picks available to us. Go get your guy. And, who's not to say it might be Mayfield?
Yeah, absolutely.
And, 1 goes Darnold. 2 goes Barkley. Rosen goes 3 to the Jets.
4 is the Browns again.
Yeah, so maybe they trade out or they take Bradley Chubb or
like
Fitzpatrick. Then you're looking at the Broncos. Maybe they take Allen. And you're sitting there at 12 like, our guys falling right to us.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, this is working to plan. So you're fine with that. But, I'm fine either way as long as they get their guy. Whether it's trading up, staying put, moving up a few picks or moving the whole way up. I'm not going to be here complaining, oh my God, we gave up both first rounders, second and a third, or two seconds and a third. The only way I would complain is if we're giving up basically our whole entire draft pick.
And even then, who knows, because Eagles fans, do you remember what you gave up for Wentz anymore? No, because you love the Wentz and you should. Rams fans, do you remember what you gave for Goff? No, because he took you to the playoffs this year. So
and hindsight's 20/20.
Exactly.
I mean, if you trade up and you come out with an RG3, and your first year you're like, oh man, this is great, and then
look what happened.
Four years down the road you're like, what the heck did we do? But there's plus and minus to everything. Like, if we can trade up and know we're getting Aaron Rodgers or Drew Brees or Tom Brady, it's like,
of course,
give the whole farm everything you can.
Exactly.
If not, it is what it is. Even though we love these guys and they love the quarterback, they still have to develop. They still have to figure the NFL game out. So it's not a given, but still something that we should look at. One thing I want to point out is the Bills have only ever drafted 3 quarterbacks in the first round.
Yeah, talk about it.
So, and how wide this is.
Right.
We drafted in '83, Kelly. And he was kind of same situation. We had the 12th pick and the 14th pick.
Right.
And I remember they took Tony Hunter, the tight end out of Notre Dame, because they figured if somebody else takes a quarterback at 13, whether it be Kelly or Marino, they were going to take the other one.
Right, exactly.
So, but it didn't happen, so they had their choice still at 14. The second one is the famous J.P. Lossman, which
great pick.
Yeah,
great
hated that. We couldn't trade up to get Big Ben, so we sat there at 13 and we took Lee Evans, which I love Lee Evans.
Yeah.
But then we traded back in the first round and gave up our first round next year for J.P. Lossman, which that did not pan out for us.
It really didn't, no.
And then the third one is the most recent, E.J. Manuel. Which we actually traded back.
We did. We
traded back.
Yep.
So we got some extra picks, but it didn't pan out.
You know what? He still might have been. I mean, because the next quarterback taken on board in that draft was Geno Smith. So I mean, you know,
that was an awful quarterback.
It was.
So that was at the time where they pinned in. We're getting a quarterback.
Yeah.
And it was a year too late, a year too early.
And we got E.J. Manuel.
Yeah. The only good thing I can say about that is they traded back, so they got extra picks. But yeah, that was not another good situation for us as far as drafting a quarterback.
So we're due for Jim Kelly, is what you're saying. We're due for another Jim Kelly.
We're due for something. I mean, it has to happen sometime.
It has to happen soon. Yeah, my thought is, if you have one guy, if let's say Josh Rosen is the one guy, trade everything. I don't care. I don't care if it's a first next year. Like, if he's your guy, go get him. Do whatever it takes and just get him. And if it doesn't pan out, well then. You know, it's funny, if you're a GM or a coach or something, you're fired either way.
Yeah.
If you sit back and wait and don't get your guy and nothing happens and you start losing, you're fired. If you go get your guy and he's not good, you're fired. So might as well go get your guy, hope for the best. But yeah, but if you don't have one guy, if you're like the Jets and you say, you know what, all three of these guys are better, all four of these guys are better, then stay put.
Yeah.
There's no reason to go anywhere. Because one of them will probably fall to you, and if not, move up to 7, and then like you said, we still have the second first round pick, and that's looking better than what we'd have.
Yeah, because I mean, I would love to trade the 12th overall pick and trade up to whether it be 7, 8, somewhere around there, and still have the rest of our picks. We'd probably give up a third rounder or a second rounder. No big deal because we have all these extra picks.
Right, exactly.
That would be my perfect scenario.
Yeah, ideal.
We'd be able to trade up a few picks and get our guy, and no big deal. But if they have better info of what other teams are going to do, so if they know he's going to go 3, 4, or 5, whatever it is, and you got to get up and get him.
Go get him.
Because you have to have a quarterback in the league.
Yep.
I think we're in a good situation where whether he can learn from sitting behind McCarron for a year, or if he goes right in, I don't think we're going to ask him to do a lot.
Nope.
We didn't ask Tyrod to do a lot last year. Now we do have a new offensive coordinator.
Yeah.
So it's going to kind of see what he wants, but I think we won't rely on them a lot the first year, whatever quarterback we take.
Right.
So it's going to be a good situation, and especially if we keep a lot of picks, we're going to have a lot of better players around them.
Right. Yeah. I'm very excited. No matter what happens, I'm very excited to see what's going to happen. Yeah. So, but we'll see. So I don't know if you have anything else you wanted to add.
Well, just to recap,
yep.
What you think they should do?
I think that they should, again, if they have one guy, they should trade him 2 and do whatever it takes. Trade McCoy. Trade your first round pick next year. Trade it all. I don't care. If you have one guy, go get him. You?
Me. If you want to trade up to number 2 overall, I'm all for it, but try to keep the first round pick next year.
Okay.
That's the one thing that I would try to use as much draft capital in this year as I can compared to next year. And I just feel if you have 2 first round picks this year, you trade them up, you shouldn't have to give up your first round next year.
Right.
I mean, I don't even care if we have to give up, or 2 1s or 2 2s and a second round next year.
Yeah.
I'm fine with that.
Right.
But that'd probably be the most.
Yeah.
As far as draft picks, I don't want to give up the first round next year. That's the only thing. Because I think we have enough that we don't need to.
Yeah, we do. It might be a boring day 2 and 3 of the draft for us if we do that, but
fine.
We just got to start quarterbacks. We're okay with that.
I'm fine.
Yeah, we'll sit back and enjoy like drinking beer alone and not worry about the draft that day. But yeah, so that's it from us. if you have any thoughts, I'm sure you do. As Bills fans, I know that you probably have a different opinion of what's going to happen in the draft. Leave a comment. We'll definitely talk about it. We're happy to. We know that this video was a little bit longer than some of the other ones we do, but this was fun, and we look forward to the draft. So if you like this content, please be sure to subscribe. We'll talk about Bills news, league news, anything that affects us in the NFL. We're going to talk about it right here at Believers Talk. So until next time.
Go Bills.
Go Bills.